Most people run from loneliness. The wise build empires within it. You are alone. Good. That is where power begins. In the silence, when no one texts, no one praises, no one claps. That is where your identity is stripped bare. Your comfort gone, your illusions shattered, and that's when something ancient awakens, the will to endure. You see, the crowd fears being alone because it reveals too much. Their distractions can no longer shield them from truth. But for the strategist, for you, this is the forge. This is where the mind sharpens, where emotions become data, where every ache is measured, cataloged, studied, and transformed. Do not envy those with noise around them. They are not building, they are escaping. Let them, because the ones who persist in private, who bleed in silence, are the ones the world cannot ignore when they finally arrive. You are not behind, you are in training. Let your loneliness become your fortress. Let it starve your need for approval. Let it feed your need for legacy. And then there is purpose. You ask, what is my purpose? You want a map, a voice, a sign from the sky. But purpose is not found in a flash. It is built brick by invisible brick through every moment you refuse to quit, every tear you wiped alone, every time you stayed disciplined when chaos offered you an easy way out. Purpose is not a gift, it is a reward for those who kept going. You think your suffering has no value, you're wrong. Each scar is a lesson in disguise. Every sleepless night is evidence. Every breakdown you survived is a blueprint for someone else who hasn't yet made it through. You are writing a manual, a testament, one that cannot be stolen, faked, or replicated. So don't beg for belonging, don't wait to be seen. Become so necessary, so undeniable, that even those who ignored you are forced to acknowledge your shadow on their lives. The world does not respond to neediness, it bows to conviction. You are not here to fit in, you are here to change the shape of things, to disturb patterns, to challenge timelines, to leave behind not a memory, but a movement. So yes, embrace loneliness, let it sculpt you, let it prepare you, because when your moment comes, when they finally hear your voice, every second of silence will roar with power. Solitude is not a weakness, it is the training ground of kings. In a world addicted to noise, where validation is measured in notifications and relevance is tied to visibility, solitude appears almost as a punishment. People run from it, fill the silence with distractions, and confuse loneliness with failure. But solitude, real, intentional solitude, is the place where transformation begins. It is not absence, it is presence in its most powerful form. When the noise fades, you are left with the most dangerous and liberating force in existence, your unfiltered self. No performance, no applause, no audience. In that space you meet your true fears, not the ones you pretend to have overcome, but the ones that whisper in your quiet moments. Fear of insignificance, fear of being forgotten, fear of not being enough. But here's the truth, these fears are not meant to be erased. They are meant to be faced, studied, understood, and conquered. True mastery is never born in the crowd. It is forged in quiet repetition, in invisible progress, in brutal self-awareness. You do not find greatness on stage. You bring it there after long hours behind closed doors. The king, the warrior, the visionary, they all learn to sit in the silence, to hear their thoughts echo like weapons in a chamber, sharpening them day by day. Solitude teaches discipline. Without others to watch you, you must become your own judge, your own mentor, your own rival. When no one is clapping, will you still show up? When no one believes, will you still build? These are the questions solitude demands answers to, and only those who rise to the challenge are crowned by time. Company is easy, distraction is everywhere, but those who dare to sharpen themselves in silence, who bleed in solitude without waiting for the world's permission, become unstoppable. They cultivate a depth the surface chasers cannot touch. They learn how to bend time, how to stretch focus, how to create something from nothing, all while the world scrolls past. Solitude refines not just your skill, but your character. It reveals what remains when all is stripped away. Your values, your habits, your endurance. It is where ego dies and self-respect is born. It is where cheap approval is replaced with earned pride. So when you feel alone, understand you are not lost. You are being prepared. You are in training while others are entertaining. You are building an empire that will not need to shout to be felt. And when you finally emerge after the hours, the pain, the silence, the world will not recognize you as someone who got lucky. They will feel your presence like gravity without needing to understand its source. Because the truth is simple, kings are not crowned by the crowd. They are crowned by the silence they mastered when no one was watching. Most people escape loneliness, the greats weaponize it. There is a fundamental difference between the masses and those who rise above them. It is not always talent, resources, or opportunity. It is how they respond to loneliness. Where most run from it, numb it, or deny it, the greats sit with it. They welcome its sting. They make it a tool, a weapon, a forge. While the crowd seeks constant connection, the strategist seeks clarity. Most people treat discomfort like a disease. They need noise, attention, entertainment, anything to avoid sitting in silence. They fear the echo of their own thoughts. But the ones who are destined for more understand that discomfort is not the enemy. It is a signal. And within that discomfort lies raw data. The strategist does not drown loneliness in distraction. He studies it. He observes his reaction to it, dissects the emotions, and traces the patterns. Every moment of pain, every ache of abandonment becomes information. Why does this hurt? Where is this fear coming from? What weakness does this moment reveal? The greats learn to convert suffering into strategy. They let solitude expose the cracks, so they know exactly where to reinforce their foundation. This is not romantic loneliness. It's not sadness for the sake of art. This is war room silence, the kind of solitude that sharpens thinking like a blade. The strategist does not avoid pain. He drinks from it slowly until it reveals everything he needs to know about himself. He builds immunity through exposure, resilience through repetition, power through precision. In this state, even betrayal becomes a teacher. Rejection becomes redirection. Isolation becomes concentration. The world may call it loneliness, but to the strategist it is an opportunity to recalibrate, to build in secret, to rise in private. The same loneliness that breaks the many becomes the sanctuary of the few. When you weaponize loneliness, you stop waiting for rescue, you stop needing permission, you move differently, you see further, you operate with a quiet conviction that others mistake for coldness. But it's not cold. It's calculated, it's composed. You no longer chase validation because you've found a higher source of fuel, self-reliance, and unshakable purpose. The strategist does not waste suffering, he files it away. Catalogs it, learns from it, and then, one day, when the time is right, he moves with terrifying precision, armed not with theory, but with lessons carved into his very skin. Most people will never understand this. They will fear silence, they will fill the void, they will choose noise over truth, and that is why they remain in the middle. But for those who dare to sit in the fire, to let loneliness shape them instead of destroy them, they rise. Quietly, powerfully, permanently. Purpose does not shout, it whispers when you're ready to listen. Purpose is not loud, it does not arrive with applause, nor does it seek permission. It does not come wrapped in certainty or tied to a title. It does not declare itself in the heat of success. Instead, it waits, silently, until you are stripped of illusion, empty of ego, and vulnerable enough to finally hear it. Many spend their lives searching for purpose in external places, books, titles, borrowed mantras, inspirational noise. They hope to find it in the grand or the glamorous, in someone else's idea of meaning. But true purpose cannot be inherited. It cannot be copied or claimed by force. It must be discovered, alone, often in the wreckage of your worst moments. Purpose often emerges not when you're winning, but when you are on the verge of quitting, when the weight is unbearable, when the crowd is gone, when the reward is nowhere in sight, and pain is the only thing that feels real. It is in these moments, when breathing feels like defiance and getting up one more time feels like rebellion, That purpose makes its quiet entrance, not as a roar, but as a whisper, and it says, keep going, not because it's easy, but because it matters. Purpose is forged in suffering. It hides inside your breakdowns, waiting to be unearthed. It is not found in what excites you, but in what refuses to let go of you, even when everything else has. It clings to your soul, not for fame or recognition, but because something deeper in you knows this path is not optional. It's necessary. Those who find it do not always look heroic. They look tired, tested, battle-worn, because purpose is not glamorous work. It's lonely, it's messy, it demands sacrifice, but it is also the one force that makes pain meaningful. Without it, struggle feels like punishment. With it, struggle becomes transformation. When you're ready to listen, truly listen, you'll hear it in the silence, in the stillness, in that space between heartbreak and hope. It won't give you all the answers, but it will give you the one reason to take the next step, and that is enough. That one reason is what the world calls destiny. Purpose does not shout because it doesn't need to. It is patient, it is precise. It waits for those who are no longer seeking applause but alignment, for those who are tired of pretending and ready to live with intent. And when you find it, or rather, when you finally recognize it, you'll realize it was never lost. It was always there, buried beneath the noise, beneath the pressure, beneath the expectations, waiting, watching, whispering, not yet, not until you're ready. Loneliness exposes you to your raw self. That is where real power begins. In a world addicted to validation and connection, loneliness is treated like a sickness to be cured. People flee from it, mask it with noise, or numb it with temporary companionship. But those who truly understand power know that loneliness is not a curse, it is a crucible. It strips you bare, revealing the rawest version of who you are, without filters, without performance, without expectation. When you are alone, the mask falls. There is no one left to impress, no one to agree or disagree, no applause to chase or criticism to fear. What remains is the core, your unfiltered will, your fears, your impulses, your doubts. Yes, all of it, but also your grit, your truth, your voice beneath the noise, and it's in this brutal honesty that real growth begins. Most avoid this space. It's uncomfortable, it's unfamiliar, but the few who stay, who endure the discomfort of confronting themselves, are the ones who unlock a different kind of power, not the power that comes from controlling others, but the power that comes from mastering the self. Because when you are truly alone, you see who you are when nothing is expected of you. Do you still show discipline when no one is watching? Do you still chase your vision when no one is clapping? Can you keep your promises to yourself when there's no reward on the horizon? These questions are not academic. They are the foundation of personal sovereignty. This is why so many fail quietly in the comfort of the crowd. They never develop the muscle of self-reliance. They've outsourced their strength to social approval, their direction to trends, and their confidence to external affirmation. But when all of that fades, as it always does, they crumble. Their identity was built on sand. But if you choose to stay in the silence, to face yourself without judgment, you begin to build differently. You start to cultivate an inner authority. Each day you show up for yourself without applause, your will strengthens. Each hour you remain disciplined without recognition, your integrity sharpens. Each time you fall and rise again in private, your resilience multiplies. This raw will, once tested and trained, becomes indestructible. It no longer seeks the approval of others because it has earned the approval of the self. It does not panic in silence because it has learned to make peace with the void. It does not fear abandonment because it has become its own foundation. Loneliness, then, becomes a weapon, not against others, but against weakness, against the parts of you that once needed constant reassurance. And in its place rises something unshakable, a self that is not only aware, but in command. A self that cannot be manipulated, distracted, or broken. A self that leads, whether followed or not. This is where real power begins, not in the crowd, not in the spotlight, but in the unguarded moments where only you remain, and that is finally enough. The world crowns those who persist in private long before the public ever sees them. Behind every grand victory, every revolutionary idea, and every seemingly overnight success lies a long, quiet road paved with discipline, frustration, and solitude. The world loves to celebrate the result, but it rarely acknowledges the invisible years of persistence that made the result possible. It applauds the performance, not the rehearsal. It praises the masterpiece, not the countless drafts that were torn, erased, and rewritten in silence. All great revolutions begin alone, not in crowds or conferences, but in private spaces, small rooms, late nights, silent mornings, a notebook, a blank canvas, a tired mind that refuses to give up. These are the sacred battlegrounds where greatness is born. The architect of change doesn't wait for an audience to begin building. They create whether the world is watching or not. To persist in private is to commit to something larger than recognition. It's a silent vow to your own potential. It's choosing to keep showing up not for applause but for alignment, and make no mistake, this type of persistence is not easy, it's thankless, it's filled with doubt. You'll question whether the effort is worth it. You'll wrestle with invisible milestones. Progress will feel slow, sometimes even non-existent, but every minute spent in solitude sharpens you. Every hour in obscurity is building something the world cannot yet see. And what seems like delay, that unbearable feeling of waiting, of not being acknowledged, of standing in the shadows while others get their moment, that is not a pause, that is preparation. You are not being punished. You are being readied. The private struggle is building your voice, your precision, your conviction. It's shaping you into someone who can not only rise, but stay risen. There is a kind of strength that can only be earned in private. It's the discipline to keep learning, even when no one is grading you, the stamina to keep working, even when no one is cheering, the maturity to endure silence without losing faith in your mission. These traits are not flashy, but they are foundational. Without them, anything built in public will eventually collapse. The world eventually rewards those who persist long enough, not because they begged to be seen, but because they became impossible to ignore. By the time their name is known, their habits are already carved in stone, their values unshakable, their purpose uncorrupted by fame, because it was born long before fame ever arrived. So do not despise the quiet seasons. Do not rush the solitude. Understand what it really is, your proving ground, the fire that shapes the steel, the space where you are not yet seen, so you can become strong enough to be seen without falling apart. Because the crown the world offers is not given to the loudest. It is earned by those who endured the silence and never stopped building. Your enemy is not failure, but the seduction of comfort. Failure has never been the true threat to greatness. It is visible, humbling, and often catalytic. When you fail, you are forced to confront your weaknesses, reevaluate your strategy, and evolve. Painful as it may be, failure still moves you forward, but comfort is the hidden assassin. It disguises itself as peace, as reward, as safety, and yet it slowly erodes hunger, dulls purpose, and lulls you into stagnation. It convinces you that you've done enough, that you've earned the right to slow down, that progress can be put on pause without consequence. Comfort whispers, "You're fine right here." And that's exactly why it's dangerous. It doesn't demand a fight. It invites you to sit still and soften. Over time, it makes you forget why you began. It steals urgency. It buries your ambition beneath layers of convenience. Unlike failure, which strikes loud and leaves scars, comfort fades you quietly, unnoticed until your edge is gone and your fire is out. Pain, on the other hand, is honest. It speaks the truth whether you want to hear it or not. When life feels unbearable, when the weight is heavy, the direction unclear, and every step hurts, That's not punishment, that's pressure, and pressure is the process of refinement. It strips away what's unnecessary and sharpens what remains. It doesn't break you, it shows you what you're really made of. Every uncomfortable moment, every hardship, every rejection is a signal. It tells you where you still need to grow, where your foundation is weak, where your discipline must tighten. It's not there to discourage, it's there to define. This is how purpose is forged, not through ease, but through endurance. When you are tested, when everything in you wants to quit, but you keep going anyway, that's when clarity forms, that's when noise disappears and what matters becomes visible. Ease, by contrast, clouds the vision. It offers instant gratification, not long-term strength. It gives you approval without effort, recognition without substance, and satisfaction without struggle. But anything gained without trial is easily lost. Comfort cannot sustain a meaningful mission. It can decorate your life, but it cannot anchor it. So embrace the discomfort, lean into the stretch, allow the pain to teach, not torment. Let it shape your mindset, your focus, your resolve. Because the path to purpose is not paved with ease, it is carved by resistance. It is found in the moments when you choose discipline over distraction, growth over gratification, grit over giving up. The world will tempt you with comfort at every turn. But comfort has never built a warrior, it has never forged a visionary, it has never raised a revolution. Purpose demands more, and it will only reveal itself fully when you prove that you are willing to walk through fire to meet it. Failure is not your downfall, comfort is, because only one of them wants you to stop becoming. Your suffering is a map. Every scar is a marker of what you survived. The pain you carry is not meaningless. The sleepless nights, the silent battles, the betrayals you endured, none of it was wasted. You may have wanted to forget it, bury it, pretend it never happened, but those moments, those deep aches, those scars, they are your coordinates. They tell the story of how far you've come and where your strength was born. Suffering feels aimless when you're in it. It can seem like wandering in darkness with no direction, but with time and reflection, you begin to see patterns. You begin to understand that every scar is a mark, not just of pain, but of perseverance. You didn't just endure, you learned, you changed, you developed instincts that cannot be taught in peace, you earned wisdom that cannot be borrowed. Trace your pain, study it like a map. Look at what hurt you, how you reacted, and what you learned. Pain is the most honest teacher. It never flatters. It reveals what you truly believe, how deep your resilience goes, and what you need to confront within yourself. Most people look away. They try to move on without truly understanding what they went through. But the greats, the ones who become guides, leaders, and anchors for others, they don't escape their suffering. They decode it, and once you understand your map, you can help others find their way through storms of their own. The world is full of people who are lost, confused, ashamed of their wounds. They are desperate for proof that pain can be transformed into purpose. That survival isn't just possible, it's powerful, and when they see someone like you, someone who carries their scars with clarity and courage, they listen, not because you're perfect, but because you've walked where they're walking. You've felt what they feel, and you didn't stop. Your scars are not liabilities, they are leadership. They are proof that you've endured, and in a world that worships comfort and hides struggle, that kind of quiet strength stands out. People will follow those who have survived the storm, not because they want a hero, but because they want hope. They want to believe that their suffering, too, can lead somewhere, that they are not alone. So don't hide your wounds, don't erase your past, own it, speak from it, let it guide the way. You were not meant to suffer in vain. You were meant to learn the terrain and then light the path. Your suffering is not your shame. It is your compass. It is the story that will save someone else's life, not by fixing them, but by showing them what survival looks like. And in doing so, you'll realize that the storm didn't just try to break you. It gave you direction, and now you are the map. Never beg for belonging. Become so necessary that the world reshapes itself around your value. There is a quiet desperation in people to be accepted, to be liked, to be welcomed into circles that were never built with them in mind. We shrink ourselves, mute our voice, twist our truth just to earn a seat at the table. But that kind of belonging is conditional. It demands you trade your essence for approval, your originality for permission. It's not belonging, it's submission. You were not born to blend in, you were born to stand apart. You are not meant to chase relevance in someone else's system. You are meant to build your own. The moment you stop asking, stop waiting, and stop adjusting to fit into a mold is the moment you start becoming irreplaceable. The world does not reward those who seek comfort in conformity. It is transformed by those who disrupt it with clarity and conviction. Your value does not come from fitting in. It comes from being so rooted in your mission, your truth, your craft, that people have no choice but to adjust to you. That level of necessity does not come from people pleasing. It comes from persistence, from obsession with excellence, from the discipline of sharpening your voice even when no one is listening. You don't need their acceptance. You need your alignment, because the world will only recognize your power when you refuse to hide it. It will resist at first. It will doubt, reject, mock, but over time, consistency carves space. The world is elastic. It bends not for the loudest, but for the most essential. When your value becomes undeniable, your presence reshapes the landscape. Fitting in is easy, rising is war, because rising means you'll be misunderstood, you'll be doubted, dismissed, and even ridiculed. But this is the cost of legacy. Legends don't echo because they followed rules, they echo because they rewrote them. They weren't invited in, they broke through. They weren't given the script, they authored it. And in doing so, they didn't just make noise, they made history. So stop shrinking to fit the room. Build a room so powerful they have to expand their minds to enter it. Stop begging to be seen. Start working so deeply on yourself that your impact is impossible to ignore. Master your craft, anchor your values, and let your work echo louder than your words. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to be felt, to disturb, to awaken, to transform the world, not in a flash, but in a wave that begins with one unshakable truth, that you belong not because they allowed it, but because you became too necessary to be denied. And in time, what they once resisted will be remembered as destiny, not because it was predicted, but because you were relentless enough to create it.